Here we are. It is Life Chats. It's a Friday. It's a really, really wonderful Friday. Just as we promised, the women's conference is starting right now. It's going on right now. We're actually outside in the North X, and we're getting to do a little bit of a podcast today. The women are having a good time. It's been powerful so far. Pastor Esther is speaking, and the wife of the morning speaker that'll be speaking tomorrow is here right with me, and I'll tell you a little bit about him just a second. But if you get an opportunity, if you're seeing this right now on Friday or seeing this Saturday morning, come down to the women's conference. It's going to really, really bless you. Hope you are doing well. Of course, 9 a.m., 11 a.m., we have services on Sunday mornings. We'd love to have you there. It is just, God is doing some great things here at Life Church, and I hope that you can be a part of some of those wonderful things that he's doing here at Life Church. But without further ado, this is really cool. Met this guy about 2021, not 2001, but 2021, and he is a doctor. I used to always say that he was a theologian, but certainly he's a person who has really developed and is studying the mind and so forth. And I'm so glad to have him. Can you guys give it up for Dr. Ryan Waters? The people are clapping right now.
Thank you.
Yes, it's amazing. I thought they were all inside.
No.
But they're really, really excited to see you. Doctor, how are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Man,
what a pleasure.
This
is
a pleasure, man. It's been a long time since we've been able to share space together, but this is really good.
It has. So good to see you.
So since the last time we spoke, or since last time we were together, not spoke, you have gotten a master's degree, you've gotten your PhD. Tell me about that.
Yeah, just can't seem to stop. I got issues. We one degree after another. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I got my PhD in intercultural studies.
Nice.
So Biola University.
Okay.
Sort of a missiology, social sciences field.
Okay.
Love to, dig into the theology, but also just the sociology and the culture and, why we do what we do, our behavior and faith and how all of that relates. But I wasn't done. I got my PhD.
Yep.
And just thought I was done, and God had other ideas. And let me tell you about that.
Yeah, you're continuing your studies right now, getting your master's degree, right?
Yes, I am. Currently about halfway done with a master's in neuroscience and trauma. So getting more into the mental health, but it fits really nicely with the PhD because it's still ultimately all about behavior and humans and our faith, why we do what we do. And neuroscience essentially is studying the brain, the nervous system.
Yeah.
And so our faith and how that integrates with the brain and vice versa, how they affect each other, something that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
And it's been a lot of fun so far.
Well, let's just start right there, because I'm wondering the connection between our faith and our mental health.
Yeah.
I've looked at graphs, and I haven't studied this as probably you have, and I really would love your idea on this, but I've looked at graphs, and from 1970, there was something in that area. I guess that's kind of when some of the Pew Review was doing some certain polls. But they looked at charts, and they looked at religious fervor in our country specifically. And in about in 1970 or so, we were probably around 80 to 90% of Americans going to church regularly. And for the first time right now in history, we're less than 50% of people regularly attending church services. And you might argue some of that's because of COVID or any of those things.
Sure.
But I wonder, in your opinion, has the lack of church involvement or religious principles, has that also affected the mental health crisis that we're seeing in our country today? There's suicide's up, depression rates are up. Is there any correlation between that and some of the mental things that we're seeing now?
There could be. As far as specific studies, I always like to have studies and research. I don't know specifically. There's not a lot of studies that are going into that kind of thing with specifically on religion and
not together. Were they tied
not
together?
as much.
There's two studies that you might look at, but they're not correlated.
But I will say this: things like community, lack of community are huge in mental health issues. And you're looking at, community and relationship is one of the biggest buffers to mental health problems and things like suicide and all these things. So healthy community, and church historically that's what it was. Church was the place you went to, be with the people you knew, and you were there on Sunday, and for a lot of people there on Sunday night and Wednesday.
That's right.
So it was more than even just the moral side of things. And of course, there's an element of, you want to live well and live by God's truth and all those things. And that does, we can talk about that as well, and how that sort of affects your brain and all of that. But even, just those things like community and being together, what that does to your brain. Mm-hmm. And of course, when you're adding faith, because that's something that you value. Yeah. So people's values are really important in their mental health as well. So there's a lot of correlations from that regard. They may not specifically say yes, it's because people aren't going to church, but the church offers so much more than just right versus wrong, and this is how you should live.
Yes, right. That's right.
Absolutely.
It offers a community. It brings you into a community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about that a lot more, that idea that church brings us into a community. Yeah. It brings us into not just a community within the area that we're living in, but it brings us into a global community. If I'm worshiping as a Christian, it brings me into unity with believers in China or whatever the case is. But not just that, it also brings me into a sense of an eternal community. I'm worshiping God, and I'm partnering or in a community with all the saints that have gone before me. Yeah. And I wonder how that affects us too, because if I know that there's an eternal community, then I'm realizing or acknowledging that there is an eternity. Yeah. And that eternity, and how my life is to be governed now. Because their eternity, it matters how I live my life today. Sure. So I think some of those tenets as well bring us into an everlasting community, and they change the way we think about our lives or our destinies.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you think about, we serve a God who operates outside of time.
That's right. That's right.
And so I like to, when I'm coaching people or training or meeting with them, I like to talk about various practices, and some of these, whether it be meditation or words, we'll use like mindfulness, which in the church, are often kind of like bad words. They're seen, and we can get into that, but they're seen
because
as
they've been secularized.
They've been secularized, and it's like, is this weird? Is this? Yeah. But in those moments, you are essentially connecting with this God who is eternal, outside of time. It is an eternal sort of moment where you are. It's doing something in your brain. Yeah. Your chemicals, neurotransmitters that get released when you're able to sit and be with the Creator, who is outside of time, who you're going to be with forever. Yep. This is doing something in your brain.
Let's talk about that, because I have seen studies where they've looked at brains that were praying, for instance, or meditating. Yeah. What happens to our brains when we set our minds on things that are of good report or lovely or all those things like Philippians? What happens to our brain?
Yeah, you just kind of touched on a verse that I love that to me is central to neuroscience, to neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, that just means that your brain can change. It's not set in its ways.
Which is a great thing.
It's amazing.
Because that actually goes against what we've been taught. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. That's you're going to be just like your daddy, whatever community that you're in. Yeah. That idea actually is freeing, right? That your brain literally can change.
It's incredible. And it wasn't even that long ago. I mean, in the last 20 to 30 years, what we have learned about the brain and neuroscience is just unbelievable. Yeah. It wasn't that long ago that neuroscientists and psychologists thought that the brain was pretty well fixed and set, and it is what it is. So
that's what you got.
Too bad that you got it, and there wasn't much you could do. But that has totally been debunked. Yes. And your brain can change. So no matter what you've been through, you could have been through the most horrific things, and I don't minimize those, and that process of healing can be intense and whatnot. But it is reversible. Yeah. Your brain can change and can overcome things like trauma and anxiety and mental health issues, and your faith is such an integral part of that. Now, I will say the secular world has tapped into some things that honestly, the church maybe just doesn't even know, but they things that line up with the gospel, like these mindfulness that I said, and these things.
Yeah.
But your brain can change, and the secular world is a little bit ahead of us in seeing that, oh, wait a minute, your spiritual practices are really important in that. And scientists will tell you that, like, that is important for you. That's good. So
let's talk about that. To what degree does the brain change? Now, you've talked about how it changes. I have not asked him this beforehand, so I do not know the way that he's going to respond.
I don't either. I don't even know what he's going to ask.
Well, it's easy to say the brain can, it's not easy, but it's one thing to say the brain can change from depression or anxiety even, which some people don't believe that it can, but those are things, right? Can a brain change, as much as it can change for mental health issues, can it also change for mental issues, autism, and things of that nature?
Yeah, now you're getting into some really big stuff.
Yeah, and we can come back to it, but I do kind of want to release some hope for somebody that might want to study this a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that has not been my specialty. I'll say that. I don't,
you bet.
Autism.
But there is some research.
There are people who, for instance, in my program, there's a young lady who runs a program for autistic children, and she has such a heart for these autistic children, and she just believes that so many of these practices that we use in neuroplasticity training are helpful for them as well, and help calm their stress response and help them to, I'm not saying it's healing their autism, but it is making their life more pleasant and manageable, and it's bringing good to them. So I
think what he's saying is very important. At the very least, it's very important. Mm-hmm. So if you do have struggles with whether it's a person with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or whatever, what I'm saying is, I'm not proposing that there's some kind of miracle cure in that, but I am saying what you just said. There is hope that there are things that can help them enjoy more life or make life more, what would you just said it, make life more
pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's techniques that you can have. If you have a child that has autism or struggles with these things, there is hope for you in terms of how you interact with your kid. Now, I'll leave that there, and maybe we'll try to get somebody that operates in that. But in the sense of trauma, what happens to the brain when someone experiences a trauma?
Yeah, so that's a really big statement. It's a complex statement.
Yeah.
It is an issue that impacts more people than we even understand. So the first place I would go to your school systems. You have children left and right getting diagnosed with ADHD, with behavioral this, with behavioral that. And maybe so on the surface, they can't concentrate. They are impulsive. But you know what that is? That's a brain that has experienced trauma. So your brain on trauma is not going to develop the same. So areas of your brain like your hippocampus, and we won't get into all the specifics of what that does, but that's even like helpful in your memory. Transferring from short term to long term is smaller in people who have experienced trauma than those who haven't. And so those children are already at a disadvantage in the school system with being able to remember information. They're already going to be more impulsive. They're not going to be able to concentrate because those are all symptoms of trauma. You can't concentrate well. You tend to be impulsive because you are easily triggered and your emotional part of your brain takes over. So all that to say, trauma affects everything in the way you live. Someone who has experienced trauma, and the number of people, there's studies out there, they call it the ACE study. You should look that one up. It's a really good study. And it's adverse childhood experiences. It's essentially discussing, it was a study that was just historic. It's a really famous study, pointing out what early childhood trauma does to long-term physical and mental health. And if you've experienced, they rate it like 1 through 6. If you experience 1, if you experienced up to 6, you're more likely to die 20 years earlier or whatever it is. You're more likely to have mental health, physical health, heart. It is incredible what
statistics,
trauma will do.
I'm doing my dissertation on fatherlessness, and obviously that's a form of trauma.
Yes,
and what
absolutely.
the statistics say about what you're more prone to if you have father absence, for instance. And when you talk about dropout rates, when you talk about suicide rates, one of the highest predictors of suicide rates is without the father at home. There's some other things that are obviously big parts of that, but that's one of the biggest predictors.
Sure.
Whether you're looking at, again, pregnancy rates, teen pregnancy rates, there's all kinds of predictors that go up through this thing. And I say that one because you're talking about trauma. I want to ask you a question. So is it possible? Now, we can always look at abuse, like, you've been physically abused, you've been emotionally abused, you've been abandoned. Are there other traumas that maybe children have experienced that can affect their development? What about, I'm gonna ask you for one, okay? And again, we haven't talked about this, but what about a traumatic birth?
Yeah, so that would be, well, how far do you want to go back here? See, there's some studies that would indicate that even before you're born.
So I want to give you permission to run into this because I know that's the case. And I'll tell you why. I was taking a shower one day and the Holy Spirit came in the shower and he says, Derrick, the reason why you experience rejection, this extreme rejection like you do, is because your teen mom, who had 3 kids before she was 18, understandable, had said something like, I don't know if I want this child, or I don't want this child, right? And I wasn't born yet. But I called my mother and I said, hey, the Holy Spirit told me, no condemnation, I love you, but this is why I'm dealing with those things. And my mom got off the phone. And anyway, so those words, for instance, were a route in which the enemy tried to come in and bring forth trauma and to hinder my development. Absolutely. So when you talk about before birth, because I do believe that a traumatic birth can be a traumatic experience, right?
That's your first major trauma. That we all go through. That's the first major trauma that everybody experiences. That's what it is.
At some point, we all have dealt with some kind of traumatic birth because you're in this comfortable spot, and then all of a sudden you're shot out into this cold.
Thank God we
naked.
don't. Our memories don't allow us to.
Okay, so now we have another thing. Okay, so I want you to answer that, but I want to just think about that for a moment, because the brain does something interesting. And there was a study in about 1984 that they don't understand why we dream, right? And I want you to get your thoughts on this. It's a real argument. Why do we dream? What do dreams come from? What do they are? And so in 1984, I can't remember his name, but he deduced that we dream so that we could forget. And so the idea is that our brain encapsulates or captures all of this information, and dreaming is a way to purge information that isn't necessary. We're not saying that that's the case, but you just brought up something that I think is incredibly interesting, and that is the idea that we forget some traumas, right? Thank goodness we don't remember that. But just because we don't remember it doesn't mean that it's not traumatic, right?
That's it.
Okay.
And not only that, your brain or your mind might not remember it,
but your
body, your brain does not forget it. And you will have likely physical. I mean, there are people who, and I say that I don't want to trigger people. I don't want to, but people have been through things like molestation as a child that they, in the moment, your brain is intended and designed to protect you. And there are defensive mechanisms where a person can dissociate and they shut down as if they're not there.
That's right.
To where when they are adults, they don't even remember it. But their symptoms are there, and the trauma is there, and they're having panic attacks and they're whatever. And they go to their therapist, and finally, one way or another, through whatever treatment, it starts to come up, and they go, oh my goodness, this, and they know it for sure that it happened. And there's stories like that happen all the time. So yes, there's probably some memories that it may be good in some ways that we don't remember them, because that's, again, our brain's way of trying to protect us. Because you couldn't deal with it if you had
That's
to think about that terror constantly.
Yeah.
But your body holds on to it.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't forget. Your body remembers the responses. It remembers. Trauma is stored through like senses, primarily in your brain. Like so, fragments of like smells and feels and sensations, and that's how it tends to come up in people. They have this overwhelming feeling of nausea all of a sudden when they're around somebody who looks like their father who abused them, and they don't understand why
They don't
am I
understand
nauseous.
why. Yeah.
And here, I'll tell you a study. This is wild.
Okay.
There was a kid who had been abused by his father and then also his foster father. And he ended up in a coma. He got in a fight. He was a teenager at this point. He got in a fight with his foster father, was in a coma, and his psychiatrist, was a very well-known psychiatrist named Bessel van der Kolk. He wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Awesome book on trauma, amazing. Yeah. Anyhow, they had the opportunity to go to this child who was in this coma, and they took some clothing from the foster father. This kid's in a coma, so this clothing that had not been washed. So it was like recently worn. They took it into the room where this kid was in the coma, and the psychiatrist was able to put it under his nose, and his body started thrashing and acting out and reacting. And he's in a coma.
He's in a coma. So
your body, you may not even be aware, but your body is.
Would you say that would you say that trauma can attach itself to your body?
Yes. Yes. It's gonna. It's a complex way to explain that, but yes, it is going to be stored in essence in your body because your brain has associations to every memory. It makes associations, and those associations create responses, whether it's your stress response so it's going to get stored in your body. And so that's why you notice that, you may notice it, where something happens. Like I'll notice sometimes if my wife, amazing woman, but if she says something that comes across as criticism or whatever, like I get triggered before I can even think about it.
Yeah, before you can even process that it might be you taking it wrong.
Yeah. So how many people realize I get triggered? I have these outbursts, or whatever it is, I shut down when somebody says something negative about whatever, and it's like they almost can't control it. Yeah. Well, that's because their body, there's something earlier that has gone on. Yeah. And their body has been triggered, and now it's sort of taking over. And when that emotional response takes over, that happens first before the rational part of your brain has a chance to say, this doesn't make sense. Because you can sit there and say, I shouldn't be afraid right now. Logically, I shouldn't be afraid, but your body doesn't care. Your body says, I don't care. I'm protecting you. I saw something that happened in the past, and we're going into fight or flight or whatever it is. Yeah. And
So this is so fascinating in that idea, because I think that the church, we haven't done a really good job on teaching how to deal with trauma and how to heal from trauma.
Yeah.
We've let people carry it and say, don't go there. The blood will cover it. God covers it, and just forget it.
Forget what is behind.
Yeah. Press towards the mark.
We think that means don't go there.
Yeah. And it's not that God cannot heal us from our past, but that is exactly what he does. Yeah. He can heal us from our past. We don't have to cover our past, but God can literally heal it. We don't have to ignore our past, but God can heal us from our past.
Absolutely, 100%. And the amazing thing is these brains he's given us are literally the most complex thing in the universe. And he has designed them to serve you and I, so that we can self-recover. Yeah. And I don't say self as in our own power, but to where you are learning to reign and rule with your brain that he's given you that is powerful, even to the point of being able to be retrained, reconditioned from these hurts and these pains and so on and so forth.
This is the essence to me of having the mind of Christ.
Absolutely.
And it's the ability to do those things like bring those thoughts captivity to the obedience of Christ.
Absolutely.
It's the idea, like Ephesians tells us, to put on the whole armor of God, the helmet of salvation.
Yeah.
And so that God can renew our mind. He says in Ephesians, be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
Yeah.
And it lets me know that our mind has a spirit, God has a spirit, and so that God's spirit can connect to our spirit and actually renew our way of thinking.
Absolutely.
It can renew us from trauma and renew our mind so that we can be like him.
Yeah, essentially. So what the neuroscientists would call neuroplasticity, brain rewiring, we would call renewing your mind.
Yes, yes.
When your mind is renewed in God's truth and in his love, because there's truth, which is a more factual part of your brain, but then there's the experiential with God, and you need all of it.
You need all of it, yeah.
When you begin to experience this transformation, it is changing your brain. So we talk about having the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, all those wonderful things that we want. Essentially, as your mind is being renewed, your brain is being reconditioned, reprogrammed to be more foundationally having the fruits of the Spirit, if that makes sense, instead of your negativity or your fear or your... So renewing your mind is changing your brain. It is an amazing thing. So the scripture you brought up earlier, it's my favorite one for neuroscience. It says to fix your mind on what is true. There's different translations on what is lovely, on what is praiseworthy, on what all these, what is beautiful. That's not just a good thing to do. God didn't just say that because it's not just I just
giving you advice. It's not just a helpful hint.
This is not because it's the right thing to do. The more I get into the neuroscience, the less I see a God of, I'm just telling you to do this because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
And no, I'm telling you to do this
because this is what
because I love you, and this will change you. When I tell you, so that's what mindfulness is. So we are a little bit triggered by that. I used to be. I was like, mindfulness? I don't know about that. But all it is a fixing your mind in the present on what is good, engaging your senses and what's around you, not worrying. So by fixing your mind in the present, you are choosing to be here and now. And notice the good, the lovely, and what it's like. And that conditions your brain. It calms your stress response. It releases the chemicals that we want. And it ultimately connects you with God, and it changes you. And so it's amazing. So neuroscience recognizes it. They don't call it that, at least in secular. They would just say, yes, we want you to do positive visualization. And it does. It's doing it because God is that good that he set it up this way. It still works. Now, if you include God in it, I believe it can be even more powerful, but it's still there.
It's just like if you include demonic things into it, it can be far more negative.
Sure, absolutely.
So let's talk about something too, and I want to talk about attachments, and then I want to ask about how we can then heal from some of these traumatic responses, whether they were physical abuse that now has a place in our mind, because that's where it goes, right? Physical abuse is over, but it's still in our spirit, in our mind, because our minds, in a sense, are like spiritual containers, right? They're not just containing the physical, but when the physical is over, whatever that experiential thing is, the results of it still remain, right? That's kind of what you said. I don't want to put things in your mind. But what are some practical things that we can do that we can restore the mind practically? Talk to me as someone who's really diving into fatherlessness, for instance. Your father's gone. You're 36 years old. You're finding out that you didn't really deal with this trauma. It is manifesting big time. It's manifesting with your wife. It's manifesting with your children. It's manifesting with what you think about God, which is another big thing. So what are some things that we can do to break those that trauma in our life?
That's a big question as well, and
this is what this podcast is about.
We go to the big stuff and we figure it out, right? But it's complex, and I will say this: each person is different.
That's very good. There's not
going to be a Here, you do this.
Take these pills and call me in the morning.
But there are, yeah, exactly. But there are practices in general that are found to be helpful. And if you can get to know a person and, you know, whatever, we can find one that works with them.
You bet.
So in that specific situation, first and foremost, if you have trauma that is really affecting your life, get help. Get professional help. Don't try to deal with it on your own. Right. You're not meant to deal with it on your own.
You talked about community.
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 There are studies that show how much more healing is encouraged when it's done in community and in trusting, loving relationship. God is a God of relationship. We know that.
Question.
Again, he wants us in relationship, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it is healthy for you and it promotes healing, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, get help and don't try to do it on your own. Yeah. But I would say if I was just in general giving some tips to people who maybe are dealing with some symptoms, maybe you feel like you're just kind of stuck in a stress response, meaning you just feel like you're kind of always anxious, you're kind of always on edge, you're always ready to fight or flight, you're kind of stuck in a stress response, which happens often with trauma.
You're wound up tight.
You're wound up tight, but at the same time you're worn out.
Yeah, that's
you're wound up, but you can't sleep, and it's a really, really unpleasant, and the more severe can just be awful feeling. I mean, it can be,
and it can be deadly.
It can be deadly. Yeah. I mean, people who don't sleep, but yet they're anyways. So, but the first tips I would give. Yes, community. Find yourself a community. If you can find a good church where they value relationship and of course, we want them to teach God's word and the truth, but we want them to encourage relationship with God, like really connecting with God, and hopefully they'll be open to some of these things as well. So find a loving community because that's going to help encourage your healing. But work on your body first. Okay, so healing from trauma, you can't even really go there until your body is in a place to go there. Because if someone has a trauma that is so deep, so intense, that when the thought or images come,
that it makes them manifest.
They manifest. So let me give you an example. Somebody who's got PTSD. They were in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
They saw things. They did things that nobody should have to. And they come home and a car backfires. And before they've had a chance to process, they're on the floor.
Yes.
Their body doesn't care that it was just a car.
That's right.
The rational brain knows it.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, working on your body. You have got to take care of yourself, and some of the best things you can do, I know we don't have so much time here, but even just Google it. Because again, a lot of the secular stuff in this area is super good.
Well, let's name some really quickly.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness
practices.
Yep.
Okay, those are wonderful. Could
that happen with music? Could it happen with scripture reading?
Absolutely.
So it's mindfulness meditation, holy meditation in a sense, meditating on.
So I would call mindfulness engaging your senses in the present moment. So let me just give you an easy example. This is just the most simple tool that you can use, that therapists will often use to somebody who is really in distress.
Okay.
They call it the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. Okay. And it's to ground you in the moment. Because when you're in distress, or you're not in the moment. Yeah. You're in the past or in the future or whatever.
That is what you just said so powerful.
Yeah.
You are not in the moment. You're in the past or in the future.
Yeah. You're not there. You're not here.
That is so good. I really hope that you guys really heard that. Yeah. Because some of us, and I say us, we get that place.
No, and studies show children spend way more time living in the moment. Adults spend a majority of their time in the past or the future, and that keeps us from living right now. And not only does it keep us from living right now, it gets your stress response going. So that's why God also tells us to don't worry about tomorrow. Be here.
That's right.
Not just again.
Let tomorrow worry about itself.
Yeah. So mindfulness, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding to get you out of your head, out of wherever you are in the past, So you take 5 things that you can see right now. I see, your shirt. It's a kind of off-white color shirt. I see a pink balloon in the back. I can't see real good in this. It's okay.
I got you. Okay.
And you see, you find 5 things.
Yeah.
And you describe it pretty intensely or pretty specifically. And then you move on to, okay, what's 4 things I can feel? And you say, okay, I feel my jeans are really soft. Okay, this this stuff here is, it's rough or whatever. And you find 4 things.
Okay.
And then you move on to 3, and you do 3 things that you can hear.
Okay.
So you have to get really quiet and, hear the birds singing, and it's 4, and then you go on to smell and 1 thing you can taste. So you engage.
So you're engaging your senses.
All of your senses. By doing that, it is
bringing you back into the present.
In the moment. It is teaching your brain that right here and right now, you're sitting on your couch or wherever you are, is safe. And it begins to release chemicals that say, we're okay. I'm not back there in whatever that trauma that's got me triggered is. And so the more you can live mindfully, honestly, I do this all day. When I'm feeling anxious, I'll just go, oh man, that grass is really green. Or I'll just take a deep breath and just like, man, that air, like, what am I smelling right now? And it is anchoring me right here, right now. And it's a form of trusting God. It is trusting God because I'm saying, God, I'm going to trust you enough to not just sit back there in this. And I'm going to be mindful right now. I'm going to be present.
Someone told me when they're dealing with anxiety, and it might go on to what you're saying, not all the way, but some of it. They said to drink. Take a drink, not drink, water. Water.
I was like, well, I don't know where
to get water.
To drink, okay.
It's a church podcast.
A lot of people,
I'm glad you cleared that
That is
up.
a common...
Good, because that is something that's common. But they said if you drink water, if you breathe, just really take in air.
Yep.
And one of their other deals was getting out, getting sunlight.
Yeah, oh man.
Getting vitamin D.
You're going to get me going. There's we don't have time for all this, but... Breathing exercises.
Yeah.
There's a few breathing exercises where you take deep breaths, slow exhales. Yeah. That is calming your amygdala, which helps support a calm nervous system. Okay, so breath work. I do that all throughout the day. I'll do some breathing exercises. Getting outside, mindful walks where you take a walk in nature, you're getting sunlight, which is affecting you.
Yes.
Not only... No, that's another thing as well, but that helps with your sleep at night. So getting sunlight in the morning and these things.
Just for a second, because that is important, because I know there's people that struggle with their sleep.
Yeah.
And I always say that too, like if you're struggling with sleep, getting out and getting sunlight.
Yep.
Because that begins to regulate let's say when you're in your house and you are eating bad foods and under the covers of your dark spaces.
Yeah.
And if you're living in a place that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, you are increasing your levels of melatonin, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of getting the natural light that you were, that it makes you down, but getting sunlight kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the best things you can do as early as possible in the morning, or as early after you wake up, is to get out and get sunlight. And if you're not able to, for whatever reason, you live somewhere that I've got a sun lamp.
I was going to say there's lamps and things.
Every morning I sit in front of it. And this is going to help get your body, called circadian rhythm. It's just your sleep cycle. It helps get you on a normal cycle. Then in the evening, shut your devices down an hour before bed because the blue light and all that. There's a lot of things to that. But the sleep aspect of your mental health, if you're not sleeping well, it makes things so much more difficult for you. So sleep is a good one. Mindfulness, nature walks, mindful walks, breathing exercises, meditation, where you just focus on a scripture word, God's love, and you just say it, and you just be present with it. And I know a lot of this stuff can sound weird, and for a while it was weird to me. And I was like, I used to be one of these people that was like, all I need is the Bible, and I should be able to pray off anything.
I should be able to pray my way through it.
But I got to a point in my life where I couldn't. And then God started to say, well, I need you to trust me.
That's right.
And be willing to...
Doing some of these practices are a way of exercising your faith.
Absolutely, 100%. Mindfulness, being present, is trusting God.
And so what if it's weird? If you're free, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, it might be weird, but I'm free.
Yeah, absolutely. There are other things, and I'm going to bring this one up too.
Okay.
And, you got to use your discretion and people you trust, talk with them. But but yoga is actually a great thing for your body. Now there's Christian yoga that you can do.
Yes. I would be very specific on that. But the idea of stretching and mindfulness, stretching period is
absolutely,
it will extend your life.
But it combines the stretching and the focus on the breath.
That's right. The focus on breathing and the meditation.
And the stretching, which it is, the studies show that it is huge. And again, you need to use discretion.
That's right. I agree.
Just Google,
I totally agree.
Just whatever, Christian yoga stuff. That's great, in my opinion. Now, if Pastor doesn't want you guys doing that, he can correct me after I leave or whatever. But
no, I correct you now, and I don't, I don't see an issue with it. And I know people talk about the poses and things, and the reason I'm doing this because we just talked about a lot of these things. Yeah. But the idea of some of the principles of all the things that you were talking about are essential, and some of those things that we don't do because we think they're weird. Now, don't do weird things. I always say this. Okay, here's this. If it's like taking a bath with your socks on, right? If you take a bath with your socks on, it don't feel right.
You do that?
Well, no, because it don't feel right. And so don't do it. So it's like, if it feels like that. And trust that. But I would say, I think some of those principles are very important. Talk about exercise, too.
Exercise. So I mentioned the amygdala earlier. That is a huge structure in your brain that is responsible for triggering your stress response and getting you in fight or flight, which stress response is a good thing. If you see a bear in the woods,
you need to be able to say,
you got to be able to run away.
And it's why God gave us screams too.
Yeah, right.
If somebody breaks in your house and your first response is to scream, that's...
You got to be able to get out before your brain can even think about it.
You bet.
And all your energy, your blood flow starts going to that. But you get, you get stuck in that stress response. The amygdala gets overactive, oversensitive. Exercise is one of the best things to calm the amygdala. It loves exercise. Your amygdala loves exercise. It'll help regulate your nervous system. After I started learning this stuff, I run almost every day now. I used to hate running. I used to hate running. And now I'm to the point that, like, I notice it. And I'm like, this is... I used to think all this stuff was crazy. I just give me the Bible. That's all I need. And now I'm like, wow, I was missing out on things that God just put into the universe, He put into us in creation, how He created us, that if we will take advantage of as believers, my goodness, if we're willing to, how much more health and freedom and wholeness could you have? We just, as a church, and understandably, have been skeptical of a lot of these things for good reason at times.
Skeptical and uneducated.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But I think right now we know more about the brain, more about mental health than we've ever had before. Yeah. And God is really using people like yourself and like your wife to bring us to a place. Yeah. Dr. Ryan, I could keep talking to you all day long, not just because you're smart and all that, but because you have a wealth of information. But you can be found online and you can be found places where people can get the coaching and get some of the information. I literally believe that, not a conspiracy, but our economy is, the pharmaceutical industry is 1/3 of our economy, somewhere in there. And this is really not, but I think oftentimes we're quick to get a quick fix or a prescription. Give me something for that. Yeah. And I'm not even going to go as far as to saying that there could be times in your life that you might need to do that.
Absolutely.
But I would say there are some alternative health things that we can participate in that might save us years of our life on our body and on our pocketbook. Yeah. Because we're actually doing some of these natural remedies that can benefit our lives and maybe be more effective than some of the things that we take. It's the research on what Ritalin does to a person. And I'm not bringing any kind of condemnation, but my point to that is there might be natural things that we can participate in that could do us better than some of the medication that they have for us.
Well, there are studies that show that so the body keeps the score. Again, I mentioned that before. Amazing book. He did some studies where he took people on Prozac who had been through trauma, and then people who were on Prozac and doing mindfulness techniques and exercise, and then some that were just doing the natural. the results were even better in most cases for the people just doing the more natural practices, your mindfulness, your exercise, or whatever it was he was doing, all these things. God has given us some tools. I mean, this brain is incredible beyond what you can even understand.
Yeah, I agree.
When you begin to tap into how you can lead it with your mind, with your thoughts, what it will do for you to bless your body, the way you feel even. Feelings of pleasure and peace that you want. There are things that you can do to begin to release those.
You talked about the idea of being present. I think, man, that's a powerful idea.
When you go home tonight,
all right, touch something.
An easy what was it?
Touch stuff.
Touch some stuff.
Well,
but
I love those. One more time on those techniques.
Mindfulness.
No. On the mindfulness.
Yeah.
The techniques. 5 things that you
can see. And,
4 things.
And describe them a little bit.
Okay.
4 things that you can touch and describe how they feel.
Yeah.
3 things that you can hear. Talk about what they sound like. 2 things that you smell.
Yeah.
And something that you taste. So maybe you have to grab something.
Yeah.
But really, and you can do mindful eating where you just really feel the texture.
Now we're talking that mindful.
And you will, hey, there's a weight. Talk to my wife on this one. But when you do mindful eating where you actually eat slower and enjoy it and taste it and feel it,
you
eat less.
Yeah, you'll eat less.
Eat less.
There's no doubt about
anyways, that's a whole other thing.
You can lose
Yeah, but all these things are just that God has given us.
And if your wife were here, she would say that what goes in your body affects your mind more than you could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
We talked about, she says 95% of your serotonin is made in your gut. And 5% is somewhere in between that. Yeah. But basically, you make more in your gut than in your brain.
Yeah.
And so you were about to tell me to do something when I got home, and
just something that's been so good for me. I've got kids. If you have kids, practice mindfulness with them.
Yeah.
For one, when you're with them, look at their eyes. Look at the detail of the eyes.
Yeah.
Look at, I love to touch my daughter's skin, and I'll feel it, and I'll say how it feels, and I will, I love to listen to her. Like be in, present. Even if it's for 2 minutes,
so
do that. But not only that, kids love this game. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tell me.
That'd be so. That's right.
Tell me 5 things you can see.
That's good.
And when they're dysregulated, they're throwing a tantrum, and they're say, hey, little Johnny. Come here,
that's really what my son's name is, Johnny. There you go.
I want nothing against you, Johnny.
No,
You're
Johnny
sweet boy.
He needs this. Come on, we got to do this.
But you hold him because the touch does something in your brain. Healthy touch. Healthy touch. The enemy twists touch. But anyways, healthy touch.
Yeah.
And then do the 5, 4, and the next thing you know, they're laughing.
Yeah.
They were just having a meltdown, and they're laughing, and they're calmer, and it's done something in their nervous system.
Okay, so anyway. I said something in that, but because I was going to shut down this podcast, but I can't now because I said something beforehand. And is that a way of building attachment?
Yes.
When you're talking about children.
Come on, man. Now you're gonna just. We're never gonna be able to stop this.
What's so powerful about what you're saying is, and you know this far more than me, that physical touch is so positive physical touch, because negative physical touch can do the exact opposite. But that positive physical touch brings forth connection. When you touch, especially your kid, and help me on this, because this is what I have deduced, and I'm not a doctor yet.
Yeah.
And but
it's coming.
But that touch releases oxytocin. And oxytocin is one of the neurotransmitters that some regard as what heals our brain, or brings connection, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if a person, particularly if you have father wounds, maybe engaging and connecting with your children not only heals and brings connection with them, it might be the source that helps you heal from those wounds.
It's certainly something that you could participate and explore.
I'm not saying that's all that it is.
Yeah, for sure, but it's going to bless you either way.
Yes, it's going to bless you and your child either way.
And men don't like to hear this, but even in the church, like, we need healthy touch. Like, I need to be able to give you a hug, and that it matters. I know we act like we're too tough for that, but we're not.
I love hugging, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I really have a bubble. So,
but physical touch. The other thing that's so cool, when you have, maybe you have an issue with one of your kids, and you get onto them, know, and you raise your voice, and you're getting mad, and you feel bad after.
Yeah.
they respond, and it triggers them a little bit, and it gets their stress response. Now they're making an association. One of the best things you can do, instead of just ignoring it and acting like nothing happened, go back to them and say, hey, I'll use Matthew this. Matthew, earlier you were a little wild or whatever, and it got to me, and I yelled. I could have handled that differently. Now it brings up the situation, which already had a negative association in his mind, how you handled it and how it went. So there was a negative sort of emotion to it. But now you go back to it, it brings it up, and his little brain, as he sees you hug him, he feels it. You ask him for forgiveness, which also, that's something you can talk about. It is restoring where there was a rupture. Sin is it's rupture. So anytime, the quicker you can go back and ask for forgiveness. Again, this isn't just right versus wrong. This is health versus unhealth. You do something in your kid's brain. So we're so worried, like, did I mess my kid up? Well, man, you can go back and begin to restore and reconnect and repair through touch. And
that's right.
Anyway,
it does something to their nervous system as well, right? When you regulate their nervous system to helping them regulate their nervous system.
So now when he thinks about the last time when you yelled at him, he goes, oh, but wait, it's now connected with Dad hugging me.
That's exactly right.
And it's not a scary thing.
Okay. So that is powerful stuff. And I think it's crucially important. I got one more element to add to this because I want men to hear this, and I want your thoughts on it. Again, I have not talked to you about this. But the idea of healthy touch, even in that, you talked about hugging. I was going to ask you about that too. Looking them in the eye, building that attachment, healing, putting your hand on their shoulder. You actually mentioned hugging. I think that's important. Okay, so my other thing, before we got to get out of this, is what about rough and tumble play? I think if dads have a hard time connecting and hugging, right? I think a good way to start is playful, safe. You're not just throwing into the streets, but having healthy rough and tumble play also builds those same things.
Absolutely. You got the physical touch going on. You got interaction. Touch, Usually there's laughter there, which, gosh, now you're going to get me going.
I know.
Laughter does it too. But anyways. There's healthy touch. There's connection. There's
you're teaching empathy as well.
You're teaching empathy, but you're also teaching them healthy boundaries.
That's exactly.
They're learning.
That's exactly right.
The studies show.
That's exactly right.
Kids that have had that, understand more what is appropriate touch and what is not.
Exactly right.
They have better self-control.
That's exactly right.
Yes,
and you also teach
100%.
them. You can also teach them delayed denial as well, in terms of that. Hey, if you don't brush your teeth tonight, we can't have this time that we love to do. So if you really work hard, we can have our wrestling tonight, or we can do whatever. Absolutely. So you can teach them. And another thing it does, and I know we got to get out of here. The other thing it helps you enjoy your child and make you like them better.
Amen.
And that's really important. And when you can enjoy your child, you'll like them more, want to spend time with them more.
Amen.
Whoo, Colton. I think we talked about everything, and he's the best, man. You like this guy?
He's the man.
He's the best.
I can tell.
He's just the best. Okay, well,
he's doing it all.
He is doing it all, and he's making, literally, when we say he's doing it all, he is making drinks. Then he run back over here, make a couple more drinks. Hey, this is Dr. Ryan Waters. How can we find you on social medias?
Go to Brian Walters, Dr. Walters, brainsetfree.com, website with lots of resources, Brain Set Free on YouTube. I've got some teaching material and things that I think could bless you, and just practical tools to help you achieve greater mental well-being and grow in your faith as well. So check it out.
We will have other things for him because him and his wife have done a curriculum, and we're going to try to introduce it into our church as well. But man, this is great. We're here at the Women's Conference, Heel to Heal. It's been a lot going on here. We've had a longer discussion than we usually have because this is fascinating information. Find us, like us, review, subscribe, all of those things. It helps the algorithm. And also on 9 o'clock Sunday morning and 11 o'clock, we will be here worshiping, and you are invited. Hey, this is Life Chats.